at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. We're following the breaking news tonight. CNN has new information that the special counsel Robert Mueller's prosecutors made it clear to Trump campaign deputy Rick Gates very early on they wanted his help in investigating potential collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. It's the first indication of how prosecutors are getting help from Gates and using it to tie his former boss, Paul Manafort, directly to a Russian operative. Joining us now, Jake Sullivan, a foreign policy expert, former top advisor to both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. Jake, thanks very much for joining us. How troubling is all of this for President Trump right now?
This is pretty troubling. This is a serious new revelation. The indications are not just that Mueller is systematically looking at the question of collusion, but that they have evidence that suggests that Rick Gates, who was the deputy campaign manager, was in contact with somebody connected to the GRU, to Russian intelligence. You know, that puts this pretty squarely in perspective of what we're dealing with here. And they're now working Rick Gates to get as much out of them as they possibly can through that cooperative arrangement.
And he's pleaded guilty and he's cooperating with Robert Mueller. What does it also tell you that according to Reuters, Mueller is also looking very, very closely right now at what was happening at the Republican National Convention in 2016 and contacts between Russians, specifically the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Kislyak, and the then Senator Jeff Sessions?
I think it stands to reason because remember, at the Republican National Convention, we saw the unusual move of the Republicans watering down their platform in ways that would make Putin happy, taking out references to support for Ukraine and the like. That raised a lot of eyebrows. Why did they do that? Then we learned of a number of interactions between Russian officials and Trump campaign officials that those Trump campaign officials later lied about. So with all those questions swirling, it's only appropriate for Robert Mueller to say, what the heck was going on in Cleveland at the RNC in 2016?
As you know, the Attorney General Jeff Sessions has rejected, at least for now, the strong push by a lot of Republicans in Congress, a lot of members of the conservative news media, to name a second special counsel to investigate the FBI and the Justice Department during the Obama administration. Some are suggesting this might be the last straw for him, that the president could be very disappointed.
Well, that is certainly possible. The president has made it very clear on Twitter and a whole lot of other ways that he wants Jeff Sessions to spend all of his time going after Trump's political opponents, like Hillary Clinton and others. And the fact that Jeff Sessions has stood up to him and said, no, we're not going to have a special counsel, A, that tells you something, that if even Jeff Sessions can say no, just how absurd an idea it was to appoint a second special counsel. But B, I think it puts him in the hot seat. And that then raises questions about how secure Mueller is in his job. Because once you take out Sessions, the ball might start rolling down the hill.
Not naming a second special counsel will deeply anger a lot of these Republicans, a lot of members of the conservative news media who really wanted it. Heard a bunch of clips earlier. As you know, one day the president says he wants to have another meeting with Vladimir Putin. There's lots to discuss, areas where they could cooperate. And now we see the expulsion of Russian diplomats, expulsion of American diplomats from Moscow. What message is going on right now, these sort of conflicting tones coming in from the president?
Well, what's really interesting to me is I think the president took a good step in working with the rest of the Western world to expel a significant number of Russian diplomats. That was the right thing to do. That was in response to the poisoning of an ex-Russian spy on British soil. What has the president done in response to Russia actively interfering in the American election? Almost nothing. And I think that that's the key signal that's being sent to Putin right now, which is he can continue to interfere in the United States with relative impunity. We will stand up with our friends and partners when it comes to things like toxic chemicals in the UK.
On North Korea, the president in his speech in Ohio today said he's looking forward to a meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Listen to this.
We're moving along very nicely with North Korea. We'll see what happens. Certainly the rhetoric has calmed down just a little bit. Would you say? Would you say? And we'll see how it all turns out. Maybe it'll be good and maybe it won't. And if it's no good, we're walking. And if it's good, we will embrace it. But it's going to be very interesting over the next period of time.
What do you make of that?
I think Donald Trump has a flair for the dramatic. I think he's really looking forward to a sit-down with Kim Jong-un because the eyes of the world will be on it. There'll be pomp, there'll be pageantry, there'll be photo ops. And for Trump, that is manna from heaven. What I don't think will happen is that Trump will seriously think about the substance as he goes into that meeting. So what concerns me is that he could be dealing with a sophisticated actor on the other side and not be ready and fall into a trap that Kim lays for him.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Thanks so much, Jake Sullivan, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Just ahead, we'll have more on the breaking news. The special counsel focuses in on collusion in the questioning of former Trump campaign deputy Rick Gates, who's now a cooperating witness. Where will all this lead? And a setback for Stormy Daniels. A federal judge denies a move by the porn star's attorney to question President Trump about a deal to keep quiet about an alleged affair.
If you just sign that first
I'm
one
so
there.
sorry. I don't feel comfortable signing that.
I don't get the math here.
Was this the same car we talked about?
What's this dealer preparation fee?